This is the Outdoor Journey Show, where life takes you outdoors. The Outdoor Journey Show with Matt Gaddis and Ty Morgan, brought to you by Journey Hunts and the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation.
Welcome to the Outdoor Journey Show. Matt Gaddis, Ty Morgan here with you, and good morning first and foremost. But today we're talking about cow elk hunting for conservation. Matt, obviously, I would have to say you hunt pretty much everything that you can hunt. I would say is a understatement, probably.
That may be an understatement.
Yeah.
Yes, I look for every opportunity.
But you're always looking for ways that we can educate, people, and I think this is definitely a good one with cow hunt, and just that how we do conservation and using it through cow elk hunting.
Yeah, and in every species, whether it's, the white-tailed deer, elk in this scenario, whatever it is, mule deer, you have to deal with conservation.
Right.
You have to deal with the cow or the doe or, the female side of the species, because if you don't, your numbers are going to get skewed,
right.
and then you're going to have bad populations. So it's an important factor.
It definitely is.
Yep. We're in Western Colorado,
right.
so obviously elk is a big deal. The Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, our title sponsor, they are all about hunting conservation, and the ultimate conservationist is the hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's important that we understand that. And I love, as you said, to hunt anything, anytime, any way.
Right.
And at this time of year, it's very important that we really look into cow elk and the conservation that comes through hunting them. Because if you don't, your populations get really, really messed up versus, bull versus cow and the numbers. And, it's just important that we do that.
And maybe for the new hunter out there, maybe elaborate a little bit here. But, talking about when you say, the herds get too big on one side or the other, what is the damage? What happens there?
Well, what happens is if your numbers get out of line with what, the population should be, and every species is different, and every state really varies too. Like when you look at white-tailed deer across the United States, some states strive for a 1-to-1 population, some strive for a 3-to-1, buck to or doe to buck,
Right.
So it really varies where you're at, but they evaluate, the different departments of wildlife evaluate what is the right holding population for the species. And here in Colorado, they do it for elk. And if you get skewed on your numbers where you're too heavy cow or too heavy bull, which won't usually happen,
right.
you enter into the possibility of genetic disorders or problems because of being the same animals being breeded along the same bloodline.
Right.
And then you also deal with disease,
right.
because the numbers are too high. And so you get big die-offs, big kills.
And do they, having been at a couple meetings where they talk about the moose herds and stuff like that, and just the habitat, enough food for them to eat. If that's not monitored very well, you can really run into some starvation, and then you're really into some bad spots.
Yeah, and if you have a food issue because of overpopulation, and you get a harsh winter, or you get something where there's some difficult scenarios, then you have big die-offs also, and it's not a good scenario. So the cow hunter and the doe hunter really help to provide the opportunity to manage those animals. And again, the hunter's the ultimate conservationist. So it's an important
and I
factor.
think this is a great, I think a lot of youth hunts are done for cow elks because that's a
Absolutely.
great learning ground to get them there. And it's not about the horns. It's about
That's right.
harvesting meat.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. In fact, I think that the Colorado Department of Wildlife works pretty hard at getting youth hunters out into the field, especially in the last few years. And one of those great vehicles is the cow hunt, because it's a hunt that if you're in the right places, which generally they are,
Right.
because ranches and very good ranches are willing to take youth hunters on and bring them onto their ranch with a cow hunt. And so
Right.
it's going to be a successful hunt because they're going to get opportunity. They're going to see a lot of animals most likely. And it's a great starting hunt. But it's not just a starting hunt. I still love going out for cow elk.
Right.
I mean, I love it. It's a great opportunity to put some awesome meat, some great protein into the freezer. So
Well,
it's
it's
a
the
good
best
scenario.
kind. As we've talked many, many times, that wild game is the best hands down meat that you can put in your body.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, you're talking lean, great meat, great protein, and great tasting. Other than bison, elk is really my favorite meat here in North America.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. Now buffalo still is top.
Buffalo's good.
Oh,
I have
love
to
it.
admit. We could talk for hours on that. I mean, have you ever had beefalo?
I have not had beefalo.
Well,
no.
I'll tell you what. Now you're in for a treat if you ever can run across that. It's very hard to find, but it's out there.
So they cross between a cow and a buffalo.
Yep, and it's the leanest meat you could ever have. It's just tender. It's amazing, absolutely amazing.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
There
I've
you
never
go.
had it. I'm definitely a connoisseur.
I've got you on a new kind of hunt.
There
so.
you go. There you go. This time of year, one of the things that I love is it's an opportunity. I have 3 kids. My son Takoa is 14, my daughter Bailey is 13, and then Hollis is 12. And so all of them now are hunting age in the state of Colorado.
Right.
And so one of the things that I love is the opportunity for them to hunt cow elk. And again, I love it also. And so, I have 40 acres on the mesa. And so a lot of times elk come across our property. They don't stay on it, but they cross it. And so if you're there at the right time, it's a great scenario.
Right.
It's a good opportunity right at home to have an opportunity at elk. And 2 days ago, Tekoa, who also loves trapping, my son, he went out and was checking one of his traps. And he called his sister because, I don't know, I didn't have my phone on or it wasn't on vibrate. So he called my daughter, Bailey, and she comes running out into the living room. I'm sitting watching the Giants game. Not a Giants fan by any chance, a Steelers fan, but I'm watching the Giants game on the couch. And she's like, quick, get 2 guns, get your gear. Tekoa said there's elk all over the yard.
Oh, be darned.
Yep. And so I grabbed 2 guns. And she stayed in, and I grabbed 2 guns, and I went out to where Tekoa was, and we have a big ravine that you come up, and then you can see the whole back of our 40 acres. And so I came up to the ravine, and we have an elevated stand there, and so I got to Tekoa, gave him a gun, had my rifle, and I'm looking, and the elk are there, and so I started to climb to go into our elevated stand so we can get a really good shot position, and Tekoa's like, there's one looking right at us, just stop. And so I climbed back down. And I said, Tekoa, if you get on one, let's get a shot. And so offhand, I guess at about 125 yards, he got a shot. And I said, did you hit it? He said, I think so. So I quickly scurried up the elevated stand, and they were running from south to north across our property. And they started walking, slowed down, started walking. And so I got a shot, and I thought I saw the elk that I shot drop to the ground. And so I was like, oh, this is quite exciting. Just in the backyard, it's a great opportunity. It usually happens a couple times a year. So it was a good scenario. So we go out. We get the rest of our gear, actually, because I didn't have all of my gear because it was a rush, quick get out there. So I go back to the house, get the rest of our gear, everything we need to process the elk. Now, here's the deal. This is a Sunday afternoon. And so this is at like 3:25. This all took place, and I preached down here in Grand Junction at 6 o'clock. So we've got a time frame issue.
You're in a hurry.
Yeah, we've got a time frame issue. So we walk out to the elk to where we shot, and instantly there was blood all over the snow, fresh snow, blood all over the snow. I was like, oh, this is good. This is great. So we start walking, and I start walking the trail of where Tekoa shot on blood, and there's 4 foot of blood going out each side of this animal. So like, this is done. This is a good scenario. And then I walked right up to my elk, right on the same trail. And it just dropped right there on the spot rather. So I found my elk, and I was like, well, Tekoa, let's just go track this elk and find where yours is, and then we'll take care of it. So we start circling around, and we actually kicked that elk up. And I was like, ooh, and I couldn't believe it because the amount of blood was excessive. And so we kicked it up, it ran off. I said, oh, let's go back and deal with that one, and then we'll come back and deal with yours. So we go all the way back to mine, which wasn't that far. We get back to mine, and I'm looking at the clock, and it's 3. I remember this because Bailey, we asked her what time it was. It was 3:52. She had come out now also. It's 3:52.
Yeah. And you've got to make the trek into town.
So we've got a 40-minute ride. Going to have to get showered because we're going to be a mess. So we started quartering that elk, and we actually, Bailey and Tekoa and I, we quartered that elk, which is another great aspect of hunting. I mean, as a family, we were able to get there together, and Tekoa did both front quarters. I did the hind quarters. Bailey took the back straps. Right. We were able to quarter out that elk and get it to the house in 45 minutes.
Wow.
And so it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was just but it was a lot of effort too. I had 2 hind quarters. Tekoa had the 2 front quarters. And Bailey took the back straps. And so we were packed down pretty heavy. We carried those out. And again, it was an opportunity as a family to do the whole deal, the whole journey, not just the shoot, not just the kill. We got to process our own meat, and that meat, we get it into the house, and then that meat was, my wife took the back straps, and instantly, she starts cutting those up. And so that's going to be tomorrow. We're going to have some wonderful steaks.
I'll be there.
There you go. We're going to have some great elk steaks. I seasoned them up last night, so I'm excited about that. But, it was our whole family getting involved in that process. And that is conservation. Right. In our second part of the story, I'll tell you our second part of our show, I'll tell you the story about the rest of it, Tekoa's elk, and what happened there, because it's another dynamic. It's a great part of what's going on in hunting and conservation and the whole deal.
That's pretty exciting. Well, we look forward to hearing the rest of that story. And by the way, if you ever have a question, an email question, you can email Matt at JourneyHunts.com. And of course, for every email we read here on the show, the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, our title sponsor, graciously gives us, really nice knives that we will mail to you. And we look forward to all the great questions, because as you've seen over the past few months, Matt's very versed in travel, both abroad as well as in the U.S. and it has some great resources for us. So make sure you send those emails in. Again, Matt@JourneyHunts.com. When we come back, we'll find the rest of the story on this second cow elk. I'm looking forward to it.
Right.
This is the Outdoor Journey Show, where life takes you outdoors.